And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Patrick Jackson, IT specialist turned cutting-edge UAP and paranormal researcher who's here today to talk about the Sphere Network, energetic orbs that are Earth's hidden guardians. Patrick, thanks for joining me and welcome.
My pleasure, no problem.
Well, Patrick, before we get into your presentation, how did you go from an IT guy into the UAP world?
Well, I've always been interested in the paranormal and UFOs, but growing up, I saw a few funny things, and it kind of kept bugging me. I remember sitting down, waiting for the local bar to open, and I sat on the swing in a park, and I just happened to look to my left, and there was a guy stood there, dressed as a monk, and this was like 20 feet in front of me, something like that. So I just thought it was a guy trying to have a laugh at the time, and I had a laser in my pocket, and I put a laser beam on the floor all the way up his leg onto his chest and where his face would be. But it had like a hood up, and it was all black right here. And so when I put the beam on his face, the laser kind of hit, but it reflected, but it was much dimmer, but it didn't reveal any details. And I kind of thought it was very strange. So I just got up and started walking towards it just to have a good look at it. And I got within 10 or so feet, and it just disappeared. And I went, a little bit surprised, and I went to the local bar, and I sort of said to the locals, I said, I think I just saw like a monk across the field. And they go, oh yeah, that's the mad monk, he haunts here. And I'd never seen that before or since. And I never knew about it. So it was a very distinct and kind of experience at the time, and it just kept bugging me. And I just thought, well, so as the years went on, I got into IT, and I got into databases and reverse engineering, and basically using a lot of logic to figure stuff out, model stuff and so forth. And I kind of got to the point where this kind of stuff just kept bugging me in my head, like, what was that? And in the meantime, I've been watching all these paranormal TV shows, like Ghost Adventures, and in the UK we had Most Haunted, but none of it really gelled with me. None of it resonated with me. What they were saying didn't make any sense to me. Why would a guy come back and haunt somewhere, and 100 years later and start throwing stuff around the house? It doesn't seem to make any sense to me at all. So in 2015, I decided to just have a go at it and see if I could figure it out myself. I kind of figured, well, if I can do the stuff at work and get paid to do these big projects, then why don't I just treat this like a project and see how far I can get? And that's what I did. I rented out a place called 30 East Drive, which is voted to be the most violent poltergeist in the UK. And I stayed there for about 4 days, I think it was, and I recorded it all. And within 15 minutes of being in the building, crazy poltergeist effects started happening. In fact, I caught one on tape, which I can show you in the presentation in a minute. But yeah, that's how I got into it. And since then, once you kind of tap into it, you just keep going deeper and deeper into it. And so the Sphere Network book is actually a product of, I would say, 15, 20 years of research. And it's a very different type of book compared to other UAP books or paranormal books, because it's data driven, and it shows you exactly each data point as it goes along, from imagery to signals to reverse engineering to mathematics, and it basically builds the picture before you. And I've had all sorts of people read it now. I've had everyone from computer architects to detectives, police detectives, reading it, and it all blows their mind. They think it's fantastic, and they probably think, yeah, you're probably right. It looks to be right as well. So I would say that the Sphere Network itself is the only book in the world that is purely data driven and approached from an IT point of view. And as a result, it cuts through the mustard, cuts through all the dogma and so forth, and presents a a case that is rooted in science and math. And as a result, it's now attracted the attention of top scientists and professors such as Beatrice from the Vasco project and people like that. And it's doing really, really well. So that's where I am.
So what are you saying? That monk was a ghost or an ET?
No, at the time I didn't know what it was. I had no real interest in the paranormal at the time. I'd never witnessed anything that, like that before. So I didn't really know what to make of it. But that just, that event though just kept bugging me as I was getting older and older. And that's kind of what pushed me into basically applying my day job to the paranormal, just to see if I could spot anything that other people haven't. And that's really what my mission was.
All right. Well, you have a presentation about these spheres, so let's check it out.
Okay. So my backstory, predominantly I'm an IT database developer. I normally work in central London and Cambridge. I work mainly in the media and accountancy firms. My core responsibilities are spotting database issues before they happen, reverse engineering complex problems before and after they occur. One example is a private bank database kept crashing randomly, bringing operations to a complete halt. After I investigated it and noticed it always failed around 9 a.m. And the cause of that was because the staff member was running a large query that was filling up the memory buffer. But the thing is that the same query had been running fine for years. But what happened was there was a recent database upgrade to a new version, and the new version had a smaller buffer size, which triggered the crashes. So that's the kind of thing I kind of do is you don't need to know all the lines of code to debug stuff. The pattern really is advanced pattern recognition. It's just logical mapping and analysis, and that's really what I do. So the past few years, I've been presenting clear examples of UAP spheres in action. About a year before those hearings, before the US hearings, I shared my working model to Senator Gillibrand, and unexpectedly, the spheres became a major topic of the hearings themselves. These spheres are no minor details. They account for 52% of all recorded UAP sightings. So I understand that the government itself is in a very difficult position. They generally don't like what they can't control. And I think the likely strategy is to let civilians try and piece it together independently. The smart observers will see patterns, while reactive individuals will dismiss them. And that's really the safest outcome. Professor Nolan has mentioned me a few times. He's mentioned that I can identify these spheres going back in photographs, going back decades. This observation, which was previously unknown, makes a very powerful tool for verifying both historic and modern images, because simply the hoaxers couldn't fake what they didn't know existed. So now I'm the author of the Sphere Network, and it's reviewed to be in the top 5 UAP books in the world, marked 5 stars on Amazon, and the reviews themselves are glowing. So how did I get into this? Well, in the beginning, after I had my interesting monk encounter, I watched a lot of paranormal TV shows, documentaries, and none of it gelled with me. The mainstream researchers, what they were saying just didn't add up. There's a lot of woo and a lot of feelings and not really any logic to it. Mathematically, it made no sense either. According to 2023 stats from England and Wales, 1,800 people die every day. However, paranormal activity itself doesn't increase year on year. It generally stays the same low level, and it's very location specific. So eventually I got tired of it, and with the vague explanations, the blurry ideas, and the thinking. So I just thought, if I can do this stuff at work, why not just try the same mindset on the paranormal and just see what I can find. It wasn't really my intention to write a book or anything like that, but it was really just to see if I could push myself enough to try and figure it out. So this is 30 East Drive. This is voted the most haunted house in the world, and sorry, it's the most haunted house in the UK, and some would argue the world as well. And what you have here is you have this little building on the side of it, and then you have the main house here. And all the activity itself happens on the top floors here and down here this is the coal shed door here, coal shed area. So back in 2015, I spent 4 nights in 30 East Drive, also known as the Black Monk House. I went in there not as a believer, but more of just an analyst. My ideas was to observe, to measure and record, and just see what I could find. And then within 15 minutes, this happened. That event stood out as it occurred the night before, and other teams had seen it as well, seen the same thing as well. This means that the event itself is what we call a constant specific action for a specific reason. Might happen on a Monday, nothing for a week, and then it'll keep reoccurring and occur again. And these behavior patterns are not human behavior patterns. Instead, they are perceived as mechanical or computer-like process-driven actions. So this is the staircase at 30 East Drive. And if you look at the third step from the base, directly above here, you get a constant like high energy reading on an EMF. So if you turn all the power off in the house and you get your EMF and you scan it across here, it will go literally off the charts. So you're getting these huge electromagnetic spikes when you put the meter near to this area. And this electromagnetic emission isn't there all the time. It just comes and goes. So even if you turn all the power off in the house, you can still detect it. It will generally come on in the evening and then disappear in the morning. And this is not occasional, but this keeps repeating and is predictable. And when you walk underneath this area here upstairs, you always feel dizzy as well. So it's kind of like you're walking through a field and you're feeling a bit weird. You feel like you've been hit by emissions. And yes, and that there appears to be a foreign energy source which is moving around up in the attic. So this is what people see, and this is what I also saw in the building as well. So on the third or fourth night, we saw what people call the black monk, which really, in fact, is just a big black vertical line, and it moves around digitally, meaning it moves without weight or resistance, and it moves at a set rate, instant speed and stop. So it'll literally jump around left to right like instantaneous speed, and with no weight or resistance. Now this is the same black mass, but using a filter on it so we can see through it. And what comes through is this little ball right here where the arrow is. All this other stuff here is just noise, but right here you can see a little ball. Now this is another picture here. This is an infrared picture, and again what we see here is a small sphere hovering off the ground of 30 East Drive, and this is only a couple of centimeters off the ground. So all these patterns appear to be what we call loop behaviors, high EMF spikes, neurological effects, and geographical consistency. None of this lines up to the idea of ghosts or spirits. This is a machine system. So this is an AI-based drone that is performing actions for a reason, which we'll go into in a minute.
Is it possible you're giving us evidence that what we live in is a simulation?
No. This is what this shows is there are advanced drones operating in buildings that we're not aware of. So here is another example of it. So this is what I call the Type 3 sphere. It's literally the size of a baseball. And then here you can see it flying towards the door, and you can see that there's a trail that leaves behind it as well. And here it stops, takes a look back at us, and then it takes a right turn, and then comes back and has another look.
What kind of camera are you using to get these images?
People use infrared cameras.
So that's infrared then?
Yeah.
All right.
So this is examples from 1903, and what they're depicting here are these glowing spheres flying through walls inside buildings. And I think this is the same object. So here's some more examples. This one here is taken in a field, and you can see a small glowing orb. This one here is also taken in the field, but this one is not glowing, but it's the same size, same diameter, same everything. This here is historical depictions of it flying through walls and so forth. And this is the 1 in 30 use drive. As you can see, these two are exactly the same. And this one here is also the same as this. The reason why it's glowing is because these use a field-based propulsion system, which will energize the gas molecules in the surrounding atmosphere. And as a result, you get a thing called atomic light, which is basically the energized photons will create photons, which is light. So you get this really nice light from them. That's why people think that they are like spirits and so forth, because they look such pure light, but in fact it's just atomic light.
Many people see orbs. Do you think they're all seeing the same thing which you're demonstrating here?
Well, a lot of people see orbs, but a lot of it is dust as well. So but you've got to determine the difference between controlled flight behavior and random noise. But these ones I've got images of are from but mostly outdoors. So you can, yeah, I mean, people do get the two mixed up. So the question is like, why are these small spheres operating in buildings? And why would they perform physical actions? And why are people getting physically affected? So all advanced drones need 3 main functions to operate. 1, it needs to send and receive signals. 2, it needs a network. And 3, it needs artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the key to repetitive actions. We know that repetitive actions are occurring as the door itself just keeps on banging, as the video showed. And this has been observed by many groups over the years. So it's a pattern that is consistent. And if you study other poltergeist cases, you'll notice that they all share the same behavior patterns. They will bang doors, throw objects, strange electrical effects, even catch things on fire. It's all the same AI coding, pulling from the same library or pre-coded actions. So the question is, if these things are small drones operating in buildings, then did I find a transmission? And the answer to that is yes. I managed to do a signal intercept, and this is it. This is just a sample of it, but it maps out to be an 18-bit code with 2 bits used for synchronization. And in fact, 18-bit codes are heavily used in NATO data communications. So it's like the sweet spot of transmissions, apparently, when it comes to data encoding. I'll give you a couple of examples. So this is one recording. And this one is slowed down, so you can very clearly hear the switching, high frequency switching. So anyone in computer networking or knows about just computer networking or computer communications will immediately recognize this as a signal transmission.
The audio recording, was that a real one?
Yeah.
Okay, it's fascinating. Yeah, kind of sounds like you're listening to an old school modem.
Yeah, but this is that's been slowed down a lot, so you can hear the switching. But this other example is a bit better. Let me show you this. So this is a signal intercept, another one, because I've recorded multiple of them. And this was also picked up on a digital recorder, and it's picked up as electronic crosstalk.
This sound that we're hearing from this one and the previous one, do you hear it with your ears, or it's only picked up in your recorder?
It's only picked up on recorders.
Okay.
Because it's been picked up as electronic crosstalk.
All right.
Yeah, but this actually has been picked up multiple times. starts about now. Make note here, because this was recorded near the coal shed door. And that's very important because I'll explain this in a minute, but that signal was picked up while we were in that location. Finally, go. Come on. Here comes the impact. Listen to this. There you go. Stops. That's what this signal is. It's an 18-bit code, and it's burst relaying from these small type 3 spheres.
How are you able to determine that that is 18-bit code?
You can see it right here. This bit here is the data synchronization bit, which is why it's along. It's like in a big line, and then you have another one here, and then here is the actual data packet right here. Also, if you put this through AI itself, if you just screen grab this and put it through AI, it will come back and say, yeah, this is it's an 18-bit code that's using 2 synchronization packets, and it appears to be a handshake code.
Handshake? You mean they're...
Yeah, it's kind of it's when it first uplinks, it creates it's like does a handshake before it starts sending the data through. So yeah, you have these small type 3 spheres and buildings, and they're producing these transmissions, so what I call burst relaying. So it's not doing it all the time; it'll just do it now and again. And I figured, well, if they're doing these burst relaying, then there must be a network, because that's what they need. They need a network. So what I'd done was I just simply mapped all the haunted houses in the UK, and I started noticing patterns. And this is one of them right here. So 30 East Drive is right here. And what you have, this here and here, these are all the other haunted locations. And what happens is that if you look closely, it actually matches, or very technically similar to our network topology of a microwave-based point-to-point communication relay system, because microwaves can only travel in straight lines. Also, because it's line of sight, it means it's secure. So what you're looking at is a very stealthy microwave-based data network. So when we go back to the building itself, 30 East Drive, and you ask yourself, well, why was it banging the door? What was the point of that? Well, this is evidence of artificial intelligence. So if you look at this this layout of the house, we were up here in the second bedroom, and the sphere itself is operating above in the attic above the stairs, which is where we're getting the electronic emissions from. And then what happened was this coal shed door here banged, which was recorded earlier. Everyone goes running down to have a look at it to see what's going on. So what is going on? Well, if this thing here is then doing burst relaying, it's going to produce high energy signals. So you're talking, from what we detected, it's radiation, and it's gamma radiation, and it is microwave radiation, microwaves themselves. So what it's doing is moving you to the safest part of the building. So if you can imagine, if this is doing a transmission, it's got 1, 2, 3 walls to get through, but they'll absorb the emissions at every layer. So what it's doing is banging the coal shed door. Everyone goes running down there, and then it's safe to broadcast. And this is why people are, this is actually in alignment with the inverse square law of radiation, whereby the more distance you are from the source, the safer it is. So this is what it's doing. It's causing actions around the house to attract you to locations for you to go and have a look at, creating space, which then means it's safe to broadcast. In fact, I think these spheres, the type 3s, are responsible for spontaneous human combustion. I think if you're too close to one when it's doing high energy uplinks, then there's a good chance you'll just catch on fire and burn out in a heartbeat. So that's why it causes these actions to move you away. This is also why people get headaches and they feel sick, they pass out, they faint inside these haunted buildings. It's because it's a gamma radiation pulse. So yeah, it's not spirits or anything like that, it's radiation. So what you're looking at really is these small type 3s are using rule-based artificial intelligence, which means that they have pre-coded responses and outcomes for specific triggers and actions. And they're using it to attract or remove people from certain areas or to hold you in certain areas. And that's what they're doing. And this is why it's artificial intelligence, because they know where you are, and then they're measuring where you need to be. So if it knows where you are and it's saying, okay, you're in a danger zone, it will then cause a diversion to move you somewhere else. And that's what's going on. So when you see this footage of, say, like in bar, like haunted pub, for example, and suddenly a glass will just fall off the shelf and break on the floor. Well, people will say, what's the point of that? Well, it's just got the stuff, and it's caused like a magnet for people to go there, and then they have to pick up the glass. So when they're doing that, they are outside of where the object needs to broadcast.
Why is it necessary to have artificial intelligence doing that? Couldn't just a machine that's programmed do that as well?
No, you'd need something that's quite more dynamic. So it would have to be artificial intelligence.
All right.
Yeah. So according to the field data and signal analysis that I've done, again, this appears to be rule-based artificial intelligence. Its function is to divert people away from areas where high energy radioactive bursts are about to occur. These include emissions such as gamma rays and microwave bursts. These diversions are not random, but they follow rules and patterns. They take the form of noises, moving objects, emotional influence. Appears to be a classic poltergeist activity. In reality, these appear to be safety protocols, moving people to lower risk zones within the structure. So the spheres themselves appear to function as on-demand transponders, which is why poltergeist activity is intermittent and it's locked to a location. And that's why nothing will happen for a week, and then something it'll all happen in one night, and then nothing again for a few days. So this image below was taken from a YouTube I found, actually. This group were getting poltergeist activity in a building, and they had all their sensors, they're all lighting up. And they looked up towards the attic, and what do you see? You see this little, like a ball hovering just off the ground. So what are the physical effects of gamma radiation? Well, low dose of gamma radiation can have various physical effects on the human body and mind. These effects include nausea and vomiting, fatigue and tiredness, headaches, dizziness and fainting, skin redness or irritation, decreased appetite, weakness or lethargy, and cognitive impairment or change in mental function, all of which are common issues people experience in or next to what we call haunted houses. While I was in there, I actually got brain swelling, which wasn't very nice at all. My brain started swelling in my skull. My behavior, my thought process changed. Instead of being quite a fluid thinker, I was quite bristle and a little bit confused and short-tempered. Over the years, other people have reported the same thing, like fainting, nausea, difficulty of thinking, mental fog. The next door neighbor out at 30 East Drive suffers from constant migraines, but the moment she leaves the house or leaves the area, they all vanish. until she goes back in the house again, and suddenly they come back again. This is all consistent with low dose gamma radiation exposure. So the analysis is that the baseball-sized Type 3 spheres appear to create what we call a dynamic microwave-based data network that can move around to its needs. The building itself helps to absorb the stray electronic signatures and to mask the gamma radiation bursts. They use AI and pre-coded actions to move people away when needed, and this has been misinterpreted as evil spirits and ghosts over our history. Depending on the type of the building, they will operate in one of two main areas, either the basement or the attic, logically depending on the electromagnetic absorption rates. Because they use burst relaying, it means that the network is undetectable from the sky. It all actually blends in with background radiation. In other words, this is a very stealthy AI-based data network that can move around to its needs while keeping the general public at bay using scarecrow-like actions. And this is why the mainstream paranormal researchers have got nowhere in 80 years.
Are these spheres always in houses or structures?
Well, it's a network, so it spans across the country, but when it has to route through populated areas, it will use buildings, yeah.
All right.
So this logical model I came up with, and this was given to Senator Gillibrand, and they were all dead impressed. This has actually been shown to industry scientists as well, who have also been very impressed. And this was given to them a year before the US UAP hearings. So how it works is you have the Type 3s down the bottom here. This black line here represents the ground. So these are hovering just a few feet off the ground, approximately 2.86 inches diameter. They create the underlying data link for the Type 1s, which are the bigger triangles up here. During high energy uplinks, they perform actions to move people away. This is otherwise known as the in-square law of radiation. And we observe that as poltergeist activity. This network spans across countries and lines and clusters, and is very similar to our own long-haul microwave-based data networks. So these are the ones in the buildings, and then you have these ones here. These are the bigger versions. These are about the size of a bowling ball, a bit bigger. These ones are commonly seen above tree line level. They are seen flying over roads or by the side of roads. These are the most commonly seen, actually. Lots of people in the US now have recorded these sitting in the sky and just, not too high off the ground, maybe a couple hundred feet. And this is what they do. So what they're doing is they're linking down to the Type 3 network on the base here. The reason why they're low is because they are effectively picking up a low energy signal. So this will have a low energy signal going up to this, then this will amplify that signal, which will then relay it to the much higher Type 1V formations. So you have the Type 2 spheres, which are the relays, and then you have the Type 1V formation, which are much, much bigger. These are about the size of beach balls, and they use triangle. They go in these triangle formations, and from the formation itself, it's possible to determine the direction of target that they're tracking, which I'll get into in a minute. So this is a example of the Type 2s doing daisy chaining. Now, what daisy chaining is it's a networking process that will link from one node to the next. So it's used like if you want to get a signal from A to B, then you have to have a group of nodes in the middle that will boost the signal or work it around obstacles such as mountains and so forth. And this is it over a house. See one here, 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 and here.
If you go to a haunted house where these spheres would be, or one would be, would it be normal to go outside and be able to see Type 2 spheres?
It depends on the distance. But yeah, generally they would be in the area. Yeah.
Have you ever done that?
Yeah. I know places where these Type 2s are seen every week. So these are the Type 2s. As you can see, they're flying above the treetops. They're approximately 30 to 50 centimeter in diameter. The behavior is that the Type 2s are observed to daisy chain over or around environmental elevations, such as hills or mountains. This pattern suggests that they're using a line of sight microwave-based communication for coordination with other spheres. The final Type 2 in the daisy chain is generally positioned behind the Type 1V formation. located dead center relative to the V formation center, which I'll show you that in a second. So this here is the type 1 V formations. They're called V formations for obvious reasons. They're a big V in the sky. And they're always in this positioning. So these are, if you can imagine, like a triangle in the sky that pivots and moves around at once, one in the sky. That's what these things are. These are approximately 2 to 3 meters in diameter. The three spheres create a V formation in the sky. The formation shifts between two distinct modes. You have a vertical configuration where the V formation is up on its side, and then you have a horizontal, which is flat to the ground. The whole V formation moves as a single unit. It can rotate and pivot. This suggests coordinated behavior, where the spheres maintain a fixed relative position while executing movements and commands. So this diagram here, the top one here is my diagram, and the bottom one here was taken over Italy in 2020. What you have here, there's the type 2 relays, and then you have the type 1 V formation right here, and then you have another type 2 relay right here, and another V formation right here. So what it looks to be is for every one type 2, they control one cluster of 3. And what this is doing here, if you look at my diagram, you have the type 2 here, and you have the V formation right here. And this is in actually in horizontal configuration because it's flat to the ground. And I'll show you what this is doing. This took me a while to figure out, but this is where it gets pretty serious. From the formations that these things are doing, it's possible to mathematically reverse engineer their mission. So what you're looking at is just pure math. There's nothing amazing about it, I suppose. This is understandable and it makes perfect logical sense and mathematical sense. So what's occurring here is you have type 3 data network, which is on the ground here. These are the ones in buildings, close to the ground. You then have a localized type 2 relay, which is connecting with a low energy signal down to the type 3s. They have to be low energy for safety. So that will create a low energy signal. This will then amplify that signal and then daisy chain onto another type 2 in the distance, maybe a mile or 5 miles away. That then is local to the type 1 V formation, which is this. And then this is always in the center rear of the triangle. And from what this is doing a thing called trilateration, which is a mathematical process to track objects in 3D space. So it's using these 3 points to track down electronic signatures that are coming from space, and it's then homing in on it like this. And then what's happening is this fourth reference point at the back here is doing a distance calculation. So when you put all this together, what you're getting is 3-dimensional 3D tracking in space, like a high resolution 3D tracking in space. So this is a very high resolution targeting system. And once you see that, it's obvious. There's no other explanation for this. This formation is replicating all around the world every day somewhere, and people are recording it pretty much every day these days. So what's happening is you can actually determine the target distance or location and distance depending on the formation itself. So in this case right here, you've got the type 2 behind the triangle, and all you have to do is draw a line right through the middle, and that's where the target will be. If the triangle itself is flat, it means it's doing a vertical. It's doing a vertical track. So if it's up on its side, the target is to the side, and if it's flat, the target is directly above or below. So you can actually work out the distance as well, depending on the distance between the triangles. You can figure out the distance of the target that they're tracking. In a trilateration system, they use a baseline to range ratio of about 1 to 10. So if the distance between each sphere is 100 meters, the system would be optimized to track objects distance around 1 kilometer. Here's some replication examples of it. Because in IT, to prove your point, you always use replication. So this was filmed off the coast of the UK recently. And again, you have the type 1 V formation at the front, and you have the type 2 at the back. And in this had just come online, so it's all powering up. And this V formation would be about to swoop upwards. This one here is 1971 in Canada. Again, you have the type 1 V formation here. And in this case, it's on a horizontal configuration. So it's actually scanning vertically. And there's the type 2 below. This one here, I think, was over Florida. You have the type 2 right here, type 1 V formation right here. And in this configuration, the target is at 1 o'clock. This here, again, you got the type 1 V formation right here. You got the type 2. And this is actually the object that they're chasing. This one here was taken off a cruise ship. You got the type 2 here, and you got the type 1 V formation right here. Here is over Barcelona in Spain. You had the type 2 daisy chaining onto another type 2, which is here, which is then positioned behind the type 1 V formation, just like all the others. And in this one, the target is about 1 o'clock. So the question is, what are these things doing? So we've already proven that mathematically they're doing a thing called trilateration, which is a very high resolution targeting system. So what are they targeting? I'll show you. So right here, you can see an object up in space. This was filmed through a telescope. And you see two spheres coming into the frame.
Not sure what's going on here. That's weird. A 10-inch light bridge made by Mead. I'm going to be filming that planet just right there, okay? Now check this out. I've never seen this before, and I'm actually surprised my phone's doing this. But check this out. Oh my God, it blew up.
Now, if you pause it here, you can see 1, 2, 3. That's the V formation in horizontal configuration. And in that configuration, the target is below or above. And in this case, it was below. So what's happened is this has deployed a weapon system that has pretty much atomized this object.
Something just blew the hell up. It was orbiting, and now it blew up, and it's in outer space, and it's no longer there.
These explosions are actually more common than we think. So I actually film the night sky sometimes. I have a special camera and I can look up deep in the night sky. And this was actually filmed in my own back garden. And what you're looking at is these deep space flashes. You see this right here? And that's not a plane. This is way, way deep in space. And if you look at it closely, it's not actually the same object flashing multiple times. It's actually a cluster. So it looks to be all those flashes, in my mind, are explosions occurring deep in space. And also, if you look closely, you'll notice there's a lot of movement. There's movement here. Here. So yeah, these appear to be deep space explosions. So this is a nice diagram that someone did that explains this all quite nicely. You have the type 3s on the ground here, very low. They're creating a data network effectively, which is line of sight. They're using buildings themselves to shield the electronic emissions. They're using burst relaying up to the type 2s, which are here, which are above the treetops, above the mountain levels. They are then daisy chaining onto another type 2, which is local to the type 1 V formation, who are then triangulating on incoming space-based threats. And here's another example of it. So again, this is the daisy chaining effect. This was taken from a plane, and you can see 4 spheres of equal distance apart, all operating in a line. Now, this is kind of interesting because when you look at this is an image I've got of the night sky. It's an inverted image, and it is obviously made in black and white, and it is the contrast has been slightly improved. And if you look closely, you see this again. You see the same 4 objects of equal size and distance apart up in the night sky. And on top of that, we're seeing the V formations as well. Now, these V formations, people think these are stars, but they're not stars. In fact, the secret of all of this really is in the math. So just to be very clear on this, is that the V formations themselves are the most distinct, creating an equilateral V shape that moves and pivots as a single unit. At center rear, you often see the type 2 object, a sphere, moving in perfect synchrony with the rest of the formation. The sphere formations are also highly distinctive. In fact, they can be considered a unique identifier. A similar sphere patterns have been documented appearing repeatedly appearing both in modern daily videos and historical black and white photographs. So the question is, what is the mathematical chance of these 3 stars or objects of the same size and brightness creating an equilateral triangle in the sky and moving in sync across the sky? What is the mathematical chance of 3 random stars or objects of the same size and brightness creating equilateral triangles in the night sky, moving as one, a sync across the sky? The triangle match is 1 × 10⁻⁶%. The brightness match is 1 × 10⁻⁵%. Synchronization motion is 1 × 10⁻26%. And so if you want it all as a simple word, it'll be 1/10 trillionth of a percent chance of that actually naturally occurring. And this also follows up with what Beatrice has found in the Vasco projects, where they're finding groups of short-lived transients on historical photographic plates. And she admits to herself publicly that this appears to be technology. And in my eyes, when I look at the reports, it appears to match the type 1V formations, to the point where actually my work itself was cited in the Vasco project peer review paper. So that's the presentation.
If we step back and look at the big picture, what are they destroying in space? Asteroids or malevolent ships coming to Earth?
Yeah, it appears to be intercepting other UFOs or other UAPs coming to Earth. Effectively, it's the same as our air defense system, but in space.
Well, that's a good point, because why do they need to put it on the planet here? Why couldn't it all be in space?
Because that would make a single point of failure in space. So you need to put it on the most secure part of the equation, which would be low to the ground. So it's like it's kind of like what we do, but in reverse. So when we drop bombs on other countries, we use satellites. So the satellite signal, we will go from the ground to a satellite, to another satellite, to, I'll say, a local drone or a bomber, which will then link down from space to the country, will then drop bombs. And we do that because the threat is on the ground, so they're using the highest point. But what this is in reverse. So because we are intercepting objects from space, it needs to operate from the ground up.
Any idea who set up this system?
No idea, but I can say that they live here. In order for this to work, it needs to be constantly maintained, updated, manned as well. So you're talking about massive infrastructure all probably over the world. I think it's hidden inside mountains and under the ground. So effectively, it's an ultra-terrestrial system, highly advanced, AI-based hypersonic defense network that has been here forever.
I wonder if the people who operate the system are humanoid like us or something completely different.
No idea at all. No idea.
idea.
I mean, what I kind of look at it like, the ultra-terrestrials do appear to exist. It appears to be what the US government is saying, kind of like off the cuff. But the thing is that they probably don't really want to speak to us. They probably don't want much to do with us. But we do see their engineering and we do see their technology, and that's what we're seeing. It's the same kind of comparison to, say, an old tribe seeing a jet fighter flying over their heads and firing missiles at other aircraft. The only difference is that they live in their domain and we live in our domain, much like the primates live in their own domain as well. We don't engage with primates, but the primates think they're the king of the jungle, the king of the world. So yeah, it appears that everyone shares the same stage, but we're separated by IQ levels and yeah, by intelligence. Let's look at it.
You classify them as ultra terrestrials, right?
Hmm.
Does that mean that there are beings that are non-corporeal, just energy beings?
No, they're as physical as us, but they live underground.
Underground.
Yeah, it appears to be that they live in like huge bunker like buildings under the ground, and in fact, it's probably the safest place to be. If if uh, if you treat space as like the dark forest theory, whereby you don't know what's coming where, the safest place to be is underground, so you can control the access points, but also you have a network that's above the ground that is intercepting anything that comes close.
I wonder if it's some sort of civilization that's just hiding out here.
I think so. Yeah, probably been here for a long time, probably longer than us.
Do you think the governments of this planet are in contact with them?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're aware of it, but it's more like I would say it's a one-way kind of conversation. Like we might want to speak to them, but they decide really if they want to speak to you back. They're the ones in charge. You know, we can only knock on the door, but if they don't want to open it, then that's the way it is. In the same way as like if primates were knocking on the door of humanity, we wouldn't open it to them really, because there's nothing that they can offer us. So I think it's the same kind of thinking.
More and more people are now making videos of what appears to be energy or plasma orbs in the sky. Have you seen that? And if so, what are they?
The same thing. They're metal spheres. The only difference is that that's what they look like when they're powered up.
Oh,
What they do is their propulsion system energizes the gas molecules around the surface of the sphere itself, and then that produces photons, creating atomic light, which is a nice, beautiful glow. In fact, ball lightning has been misidentified as ball lightning. Ball lightning is actually these spheres in action.
some people like Chris Bledsoe appear to be able to see them not all the time, but quite often. Why do some people have that ability?
I have no idea. Maybe he's just lucky due to where he is. Maybe he's just noticed it. Maybe there's something special about him. I really don't know.
Well, with all this information you've provided us, where do we go from here?
It's a good question. I suppose what I would like to do is to dig more into it. I'm trying to get some funding to do some more research. There's a guy who's doing the Across the Pond podcast. He's organizing a fund to try and do some more research in the UK. We're going to go and look at some places and see if we can get more data. Yeah, just keep getting more data really, and trying to repeat what I've discovered already. But yeah, I mean, I'm talking to a lot of people behind the scenes as well, coming up with new ways and systems to track and observe these things. So yeah, there's lots of things going on. It's just they're not too public at the moment.
If this information became mainstream worldwide, do you think that these beings would make contact with us or try to shield it in some way?
I have no idea. All I can say is that the spheres are now seen everywhere. They are pretty much common. So it's not as if they're shy, and I don't think they really mind if people understand it or not. It's an AI-based defense network which will do what it needs to do when it needs to do it. It doesn't really care what people think of it. It's just doing what it's designed to do.
What about the famous Tic Tac UFO that's been out there. What do you think that is?
The Tic Tac actually works with the sphere network. That appears to operate as a retrieval system. In my book, there's pictures of it retrieving and carrying a flying saucer. So what happens is that the spheres themselves will to explain it better, the when people see UFOs in the sky, they're generally the more advanced ones, because the lower tech ones will get taken out early. The ones that get closer to the surface of the Earth are the more stealthy ones. They're the more advanced. So it's the same as our stealth bombers and so forth. They can get closer to the target than other aircraft. So those objects themselves, those craft, are more interesting. So what appears to happen is that when they get close to the Earth, they will be disabled and they will land in the ocean or on the ground. Some of them have crash landed in the back of on the back of people's yards, such as the one in Vegas recently. And so what these things do is once the sorcerer goes down and lands, the Tic Tac will come in, and then it will drop down and then do a thing called quantum locking, which is when it produces a high magnetic field around the shell, it will lock on to the other craft, and then it will just extract it out. So it's like a retrieval system. So those ones that are retrieved, then they would need to be analyzed and reverse engineered to figure out how they got through the network, and then they would be they would then adapt and tighten up the network to make sure it doesn't happen again. So that's what I mean. This system isn't ancient. Well, it's been here for a long time, but it's fully up to date, and it has to be. It has to be fully up to date, and optimized, and constantly improving, because there's a technology battle going on. You need to keep getting better and better at what you do, and that's what appears to be happening.
A lot of people believe that the governments of the world are also retrieving these crashed vehicles. Do you think that's happening as well?
Oh yeah, most likely.
You don't think that the people who run this defense network never want to take those vehicles away from the governments?
Well, maybe some are just left for us to try and figure out. It's like if one gets through and they think, oh, we've already got that one or something, we're not interested in that, you can have it, but it's like all these things. It's like you could leave a Ferrari in an engineer's back garden in 1900, and they might be able to figure out a few things, but it's highly unlikely that they can replicate it or power it.
Some people believe that the Earth is a giant prison in the galaxy. Do you think it's possible that that's true, and these are ships trying to free us, and this is a system to keep us locked in and the other people out?
No, but I do think humanity plays a role in the system. So you have to ask yourself, if you have these ultra-terrestrials that have been here for a long time, and they have this defense grid, and then you have humans that suddenly turned up out of nowhere, well, what's the point of us? What do we do? And the reality of it is that we appear to be the surface guard. We are the third line of defense. So why would you take a primate and make it smarter? Why would you use a primate? Because primates are big and strong. They're powerful. They're taller, they're stronger, and so forth. And the very first humans were more like primates than they were humans. So the original human, it was probably a very, very strong, very aggressive, basically an intelligent killing machine. And the thing is that although our bodies have now evolved or got better or engineered slightly differently, we still have the same role. So we are the third line of defense. When something crashes on Earth from, let's say, the sphere network shoots something down and something lands on Earth, we're the ones who deal with it. We are the ones who go and mop it up. It's normally now it's our armies or special forces that will go in and deal with it. But that's our role. We deal with it. We sort out the stuff that lands here. And the truth is that if you look at humanity as a whole, like a whole planet, what's our main skill set? Well, the thing that we all have in common is that we're all very good at killing. That's what we're good at. And it doesn't matter where you're from. We're all good at killing, and that's what it appears to be. Our skill set is to deal with stuff that lands on the earth. Now, the way to get out of this actually is we need to boost our intelligence level. So currently, the IQ level around the world is between 50 to 100, maybe 120 in some places. We need to get up to about 250. And then I think if you can boost the IQ level of a population, then it makes you more compatible with the ultra terrestrials that live here, because then you have something to offer them. You can communicate with them on an equal footing, rather than right now we probably can't. So the way you do that is through AI. The truth is that the way AI is going, it's going to take everyone's jobs. All robotics will take everyone's jobs in the next 5 to 10 years. So what do? Well, the only solution, long-term solution with AI, is that we have to fuse with it. So we will have a system that will plug into AI, maybe something like Neuralink or a product similar to it, which will give us a high bandwidth data processing to an AI system. So our current brains will be used as like the manager, but the actual intelligence, the actual analytics, or the processing will be done at AI level. As a result, we can boost the intelligence of the human race to 250, maybe 200, 250, something like that. And when you're at that level, you literally can do anything, and also you'll be suitable then to engage with these other groups. And I think that's really the only way forward. But also there's another part to it. In 50 years, maybe, probably less, nanobots would be common. So you'll be able to have a body that is like super fit, super strong, super survivable, like an MMA fighter, but better, and you won't have to go to the gym once. You can just swallow these nanobots and they'll just build you a body, optimize your body, make it strong, all this. So if you can have just those two upgrades, you will transform the whole human race to a whole new level. And that is when we will be suitable for engaging with other groups.
Do you think they've already done that to themselves?
Highly likely, yeah.
That's amazing. This
Yeah.
has been an amazing conversation. If people want to find out more about what you're up to, do you have a website?
I mostly just use X. All the information's on X. I've got multiple videos, like 30, 40, 50 examples of different spheres and the formations that keep replicating. It's all there. Also done lots of interviews as well. I know there's a few more things to come, which haven't been spoken about publicly yet. So yeah, it's all there.
If people want to ask you questions, are you open to that?
Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, before we finish up, can you leave us with a happy, positive message about all this?
Well, it's going to be an interesting few decades. But overall, it's going to have a very positive outcome. Yeah, but it's going to be an interesting few decades, but it will be a very positive outcome. And I think the humans that we'll see in the next 100 years or 50 years, maybe 100 years, 50 years, are going to be very different from the ones we are today. Going to be incredibly smart, incredibly fast, incredibly everything, all the best aspects of humanity. And we will be equipped to deal with things like ultra terrestrials who are, at that level already. And that's where we need to be.
Patrick, thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.